Hi, this is just a short video on, again, solving quadratic functions, and we're going to specifically talk about the method of using the quadratic formula. So one of the problems that we have seen, they typically give us an equation, and it looks like x squared plus 6x plus 8 equals 0. And we're asked to use the quadratic equation to solve. So we first identify a as 1, we identify b is 6, and we identify c is 8. Anytime that you have a quadratic function and there's a bx term, you have to use the quadratic formula. You can't add and divide. You can't try to get, we can't do any of the other algebra skills that we know because there are two x variables with different exponents. So again, we have to use the quadratic formula, which is x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So again, using all of our information from up here, we're going to plug that into that equation. So x equals the opposite of b, which is negative 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, 6 squared, minus 4 times 1, which is a, times c, which is 8, all over 2a. And then from here, you're going to have to simplify. So we have negative 6 plus or minus, and again, you can plug this into your calculator or you can do it each individual. That's 36. 4 times 1 times 8 would give me 32. Divide that by 2. And you're going to continue to simplify. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 4 over 2. And we know that the square root of 4 can be simplified to just 2. And from here, you're going to separate your roots. You're going to get x equals negative 6 plus 2 divided by 2. And you're going to get x equals negative 6 minus 2 divided by 2. In this first equation, we get negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. In the second equation, we get negative 8 divided by 2, which is negative 4. So the solution to this problem, what x values will make it equal 0? The x value of negative 2 and the x value of negative 4. So that's one example of using the quadratic formula. My next example of using the quadratic formula looks a little bit different. In this problem, we see that we have an x squared and it equals a negative 3x minus 1. In order for us to use the quadratic formula, our equation has to equal 0. So in order for it to equal 0, I'm going to add 3x to both sides, and I'm going to add 1 to both sides. Again, there's no way for me to combine x's that have different exponents. So the only method I know to solve a quadratic function is to use the quadratic formula in this case, because I can't combine these two terms. Again, a equals 1, b equals 3, c equals 1, and I'm going to use my quadratic equation. So x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. As I continue to simplify, again, I could use my calculator, but 3 squared is 9. Minus 4 divided by 2. X equals negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 5 over 2. Now in this case, I can't simplify the square root of 5, so I could leave my answer this way. It is also okay to rewrite my answer as x equals negative 3 plus the square root of 5 over 2. And include the negative 3 minus the square root of 5 over 2. It is okay to write it this way or to write both of these two as as their separated roots. So those are two examples of how to solve quadratic functions with the quadratic formula.